everyone, and welcome. Today, we're jumping straight into the Goa Land Development and Building Construction Regulations. We're going to break down the key language, the words that can literally make or break your project, so you can navigate Goa's building code with a lot more confidence.
So let's start with a question that, I think frustrates a lot of us in this field. Why do so many building plans get shot down in Goa? You've poured all this time and energy into a really great design, and then, boom, it comes back with that rejection stamp. What's going on here?
Well, here's the thing. The problem usually isn't about bad design. Not at all. It's almost always a misunderstanding of the basic vocabulary, the fundamental terms inside the regulations. If you get those definitions wrong, your entire plan is basically built on quicksand from the very beginning.
Hi, I'm architect Patil, and that's exactly what we're going to tackle. We're going to unpack the 14 most critical terms in the GLDBCR 2010, and I'm telling you, once you master these, your chances of getting that approval are going to go way, way up.
Okay, so first up, let's talk about the rules of the game. Before we even think about a design, we have to understand the playbook we're all using, and maybe more importantly, who the referees are. So let's start with the word regulations. When an official says something isn't allowed as per regulations, that's not just their opinion. They are pointing to one and only one document, the Goa Land Development and Building Construction Regulations of 2010. This is the official rulebook. It's the single source of truth for everything. So who actually enforces that rulebook? That would be the authority. This is our referee. It could be the town and country planning department, it could be the local municipality, or a panchayat. These are the people who give you the green light, and at the end of the day, their interpretation of the rules is the one that matters. Which really brings us to the three key players in any project. First, you've got the authority. They're the ones making the final decision. They base that decision on the regulations. That's the rulebook. And then there's you, the registered professional. Your signature, your stamp, that's what makes the submission official. A plan that comes in without it, that's an automatic rejection, no questions asked. All right, let's get into Section 2, your building by the numbers. This is where the rubber really meets the road. These are the core calculations that are going to define what's even possible for your project. And it all starts with the plot or site. Think of this as your canvas. It's that single piece of land with clear, approved boundaries. Every single calculation we're about to talk about starts from the exact area of this plot. So if you get this number wrong, everything else that follows is going to be wrong too. Now, let's clear up something that trips up so many people, the difference between area and built-up area. As you can see here, area is pretty straightforward. It's just the surface of one floor. But built-up area is the number that really, really matters. It includes the thickness of the walls, your balconies, any other covered spaces. And this is the number used for FAR, so getting it right is absolutely crucial. And that brings us to the big one, the king of all calculations, the floor area ratio, or FAR. This single ratio tells you the maximum total built-up area you are allowed to build across all of your floors based on the size of your plot. It's the ultimate control on how dense your project can be.
So how does this actually work? Well, take a look at the example here. Let's say your plot is 300 square meters, and the FAR for that zone is 1.5. You just multiply those two numbers. That gives you 450 square meters. That's your total building allowance. You could do 3 floors of 150 square meters each, or 2 floors of 225. The FAR gives you the total volume. You get to decide how to stack it.
But, and this is a big but, here's where it gets interesting. Even if you have a ton of FAR to work with, you're still limited by coverage. Coverage is all about your building's footprint. It's the percentage of your plot that you're allowed to cover at ground level. So you might have the FAR to build a huge building, but the coverage rules might force you to build taller and skinnier instead. It's this constant puzzle between your total volume and your ground floor footprint. And that's a perfect lead-in to our third section, setting physical boundaries. We've talked about the numbers on paper. Now let's talk about the real-world rules that will literally shape your building on the site. The first, and maybe the most rigid of these boundaries, is the setback. This is that mandatory open space you have to leave between your building and the edge of your plot. It is completely non-negotiable. And it's there for really important reasons, like giving you light and air, and crucially, allowing access for fire safety. Next up is the height of building. Now, this isn't just some random number you can eyeball. It's a very precise measurement from the average ground level all the way to the very top of your structure. And getting this calculation right is so important because
As we're about to see, it can trigger a whole new level of much stricter rules.
Right. Case in point, the second your building's height crosses 15 meters, the game changes. You're now officially in the high-rise category. And that means, as you see here, you immediately need a mandatory fire NOC, and a bunch of much tougher rules for things like staircases suddenly apply. It's a huge threshold you have to plan for from day one.
A couple of other quick but critical terms are occupancy and basement. Occupancy is just about the building's purpose. Is it residential, business, something else? Each type has its own set of rules for things like parking and safety. And for basements, just remember this one simple rule. They are for parking, services, and storage. That's it. No bedrooms, no offices, no habitable rooms are allowed down there. Period.
Okay, we've designed our building, we've followed all the rules, we're on the home stretch. Let's get into our final section, from plan to permit. This is all about the final certificates you need to make your project official and legal.
So before anyone can actually move into your building, you need a structural stability certificate. Think of this as the final stamp of approval from a registered structural engineer. It's their professional guarantee that the building was built safely, it followed the design, and it's totally fit to be occupied.
And then, at last, you have the completion certificate. This is it. This is the finish line. It's the official document from the authority that says, yes, this building is finished, and more importantly, it was built exactly how the approved plan said it would be. Without this piece of paper, the building is technically illegal and cannot be occupied.
So, after all that, why does knowing these 14 definitions matter so much? Because they are the DNA of the entire code. You will find them in almost every single clause. They're the starting point for every calculation. And ultimately, understanding them is what decides if your project gets a thumbs up or a thumbs down. It is absolutely essential for legal compliance.
Which kind of leaves me with one final thought. Is the GLDBCR just this big, restrictive rulebook that we have to fight against all the time? Or if we really master its language, can we start to see it differently? Maybe as a blueprint for creating better, safer, and just more thoughtfully designed buildings in Goa? I'll leave you with that to think about.